Welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to talk about Robert Silverberg's short story that is in his world of Majipoor. The story, it doesn't really have much of it. The Book of Changes. Now, I have not read any Robert Silverberg. In fact, I knew nothing of his Majipoor world. The cool thing about this anthology that it appears in Legends 2. And before I'll get into that, again, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when new videos pop up. Leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys, and as always, spread the word. So in this anthology, there's always a history that's given. So even if you haven't read any of these worlds yet, it gives you a little bit of a background. And this story takes place 4,000 years before Pontifex Valentine, who I guess is one of the main characters throughout the Majipoor world. It follows the son of a Pontifex, and he's led an easy life for Vane. He's no longer living at the castle. He's staying with a duke, and he's basically going, just, I guess, I don't know if it would be like a walkabout or what it is. But he comes into this land that is held by a man called Cassiniban, or Cassiniban, I should say. It's weird because it reminds me of Cinnabon, which, whenever I read that name, I always felt was kind of made my mouth kind of water. But anyway, he then becomes a prisoner for ransom. The bandits that take him, he tells them why, I don't know, but he tells them who he is, that he's the son of the Pontifex. And they take him to Cassiniban, who then basically says, well, for now you're my guest. And Vervain's like, well, no, I'm your prisoner. He's like, well, you can see it that way too. And the main theme to this is, it seems to be poetry. Vervain has written poetry, but like really small little bits of verse that really aren't all that good. And Cassiniban has this huge library of books of poetry that Vervain thinks pretty much sucks. You know, this is some of the worst poetry ever written by humankind. Now, Vervain starts to have these dreams where the first dream is he has sort of the vision of a poem, of an epic poem, massive poem, but he can't get in to see it. It's like the dream's like mocking him, saying, you're never going to get this. You're never going to get this poem. Just don't. The second dream he has is he sees sort of the container that's going to hold the poem. And he starts to see the meter, the rhyme, the rhythm. All of this stuff is starting to come, so he can start to now piece things out. And then he starts to actually do the poem when he's like in a trance from the divine. Now, what's interesting is his guide through this is a golden-haired man named Valentine. I'm assuming, since I read the introduction to the story, that it's the Valentine of 4,000 years later. It doesn't really say, because Vervain doesn't know, but it's something that I'm just going to assume to be on the safe side, even though you know what they say about assuming. So anyway, he tells Cassinaban that you can't read this. I don't want any words. I don't want you putting any input, because at least one word can throw this whole thing off. So no, don't. And he starts to set up pens on his desk, so he knows if somebody's been rummaging through his desk. Now, he's made multiple copies of this, just in case the main one gets destroyed or stolen or whatever. He's got other copies. But he notices every day that these pens have been disturbed. And he knows who it is. It's Cassinaban. He's the only one that really cares about the poem. He's the only one that knows about the poem. So he goes and he confronts Cassinaban. And he's like, "You've invaded my space." And Cassinaban's like, "No, I'm master here. You're writing this under my roof." And Vervain is like, "Okay, then I'm still your prisoner." And again, Cassinaban's like, "Think what you will, but you will finish this poem. You will finish it." He basically gives him no other choice. You're going to finish it. And it's this epic poem that starts with the settling of the world from old Earth of Majipoor, with the metamorphs, and a war with the metamorphs. And I'm not going to get into all the different pontifexes, but there's going to be like nine sort of, I guess you could say, movements to this thing. And it would be like an arc, is what he wants to do. So he's writing it, basically, he's jumping around writing it wherever the guide and the divinity seems to want him to write more. And then he's like 3 lines away from finishing the whole thing. And all of a sudden, it's gone. The inspiration is just gone. It's not there. And he realizes, I can't sit and force my style into it, because it's gonna show. It's not going to be what it is. It's not gonna. You're gonna see the difference between the divinity and mine, and it's not even gonna be close. So he basically decides, I'm gonna burn this thing. I'm gonna destroy it. That way nobody can read it. Because if people find out I wrote it, they're not gonna believe me. And unless I bring the author forth, they're going to scorn me in my old age, and that I can't have. I mean, he's been working on this thing for over 2 years, believe it or not. 2 years. And he takes part of the stack. He has all the copies that he had made copies of the original, and he takes a chunk, throws it in the hearth, and lights it on fire. Well, Cassinaban runs in, and he's like, "What are you doing?" "No." And Vervain tells him, over the course of a half hour or so, what has been going through his mind. Now, they've sent out ransom notes to the Duke, to his father. And at this point, nothing's been heard. Nothing's been received back. And this is when Cassinaban says, I have to come clean. He's like, we did get the ransom money from the Duke a week ago. But I was afraid if I told you, you wouldn't have finished the poem. So Vervain looks at me and he's like, so I'm still your prisoner then? And Cassinaban is basically like, I guess. There's no really yes or no answer. And then the inspiration hits Vervain. And he starts writing again. And he tells Cassinaban, here, give the money back to the Duke. Send it back. Tell him that he paid it a little too early. Give him this section of the manuscript, so he knows his old friend hasn't been just wasting his time all these past 2 years. And then go and leave me to get to work. So he doesn't finish the poem in the story, but he's going to. And it's basically the name of the story itself is what he calls the epic poem. that's just what he decides to call it, the Book of Changes. And I thought it was an interesting story. When it started and the way it started, I wasn't sure. The writing style seemed kind of off, and it seemed like everything was so upfront, and then it started working its way back of like how he became the prisoner, and then the poem. So, what to take away from this? If you're looking for a story, a fantasy story that has a lot of action, this isn't it. There really isn't any. If you're looking for something that's going to add to the Majipoor world, then yeah. And if you haven't read it, then you're going to want to. It gives you sort of a precursor as to what happens before the actual books begin. The story grew on me as it was going. I mean, it's about 70, 75 pages. So it's a pretty lengthy story. But it grew on me. And I would say I'd give it a 4.4 out of 5. I liked it. Would it make me go out and read more of the Majipoor series? I don't know. I don't have any of them. Like I have, other stuff in this anthology, like Anne McCaffrey. I mean, you can check out all the videos I've done of her stuff. Tad Williams, I got his stuff that I'm going to do sometime in the future. Robin Hobb, Raymond Feist, those authors I'm going to do in the future. But I don't have anything by Robert Silverberg. And will that change? I don't know. Did this story change it? I don't know. I don't think so. But 4.4, I thought it was pretty good. So, yeah. With that, again, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when new videos come on up. Also, leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. If you have a book or a series that you think I should read and review for the channel, leave it down below. Like I said, I love hearing from you guys and I always respond. And as always, spread the word. It helps me out, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate your support. So, until next time, as always, keep YouTube literate, and God bless.